if I could feel that spirit, something so much greater than me that I believe comes from this beautiful source of wholeness and love, is telling me that it's going to support me, who am I to say no to that?
Hello, and welcome to the Connect podcast. This show is all about helping you connect to your soul's calling so you can take action on it. Because the sweetest success is a blend of discovering your purpose with the inner drive to bring it to life. I'm Sheila Botello, health coach, lifestyle entrepreneur, and mom of two, best known for my online wellness programs, mentoring, and self-love passion. Listen in for inspiring interviews, solo chats, and Q&A sessions that will move you past overwhelm towards what lights you up. Stop accepting good enough and go for your version of great in your health, business, and relationships. Let's get started. Hi, welcome to Interview Day on the podcast. Today, my guest is Christine Agha. Christine is an energy healer, evidential medium, and NLP mindset coach. Christine supports women that struggle with being highly sensitive and feel like their emotions are overwhelming and have control over them. Often they experience anxiety, depression, or unmanageable anger. For the past 9 years, she has helped hundreds of women learn how to master their energy and emotions, heal from their past, reprogram their mindset for success, and awaken their intuition to live a soul-led life. She's passionate about women feeling confident, empowered, and showing up in their lives as the best version of themselves. Christine works with women in online private coaching sessions, group healings, and she also has a 6-week program called Awaken Your Intuition. I so enjoyed connecting with Christine. We'd been trying to get this interview together for a while, so I'm so grateful to share this conversation with you. It went deep and it touched my heart in the best way. Enjoy the conversation. It is so good to see you, Christine.
It's so lovely to see you face to face.
I would love for us to start with the work that you're doing. Where did it all begin? I'm so curious to know what got you into this field. So, what is the path to where you moved into this space?
So the very, very beginning was after the birth of my second child. I experienced postnatal depression and severe anxiety. So that's where it all really started. There was a very traumatic event with my youngest child where he stopped breathing, and that triggered for me severe anxiety, as it would. But then I couldn't bring myself back from it. I was just so stuck in being in fight or flight constantly. I was constantly checking on him breathing. He was sleeping in the bed with me. My husband was in another room because I could not rest. And that is where it all started. And then I realized it took a few months of that to then realize, okay, this doesn't feel right. I'm not sleeping in the bed with my husband. I'm constantly worried. I love him. So I really didn't like that he wasn't close to me either. And we had a business at the time. So he needed his sleep because he was up at 5 a.m., not back till 7 p.m. at night. And he was not willing to be in a bed with a baby and, getting up and breastfeeding and changing nappies and all that kind of thing as well. So I got help. I asked the GP for help and I just said, I don't know where to go from here, but I feel like I'm at rock bottom and I need some form of support because my life can't stay like this. My nervous system can't remain like this. And I can't continue to feel so low. How is this going to impact my children? I don't want to be that mum. And I don't want them to experience their earlier years of life where they really take on our emotional state. I don't want them to I have to do something about that. I wanted to be empowered. And also I had this super mum syndrome. So I was like, I need to be everything. I need to be perfect. I need to be happy. And that's not healthy either because that also keeps you in fight or flight. So that's where it all began. I went to see a psychologist. I was so set on coming out of this and healing medication free. I didn't want to be medicated. And that was just a personal preference. My dad is a pharmacist. He's passed away, but he was a pharmacist, and he was always very much against anxiety and depression medication. He had his own reasons, which is strange, right, for someone that's selling it. I think he was mostly involved in because he was diabetic and had diabetes in the family, so he became a diabetes educator and was educating people around that. But he was very much against depression and anxiety medication. So I was just, okay, well, so am I. Not understanding why or anything like that. But I just knew that, and I also knew within me that I had the power. I knew I was here for more. And I knew that I had the power to overcome this with some form of connection to something higher than me, not really knowing what that was at the time.
Yeah. That is incredible. What a wild way to start the journey. And you know, what's interesting, so much comes up when children come into the picture. I mean, the spiritual questions, the why am I here questions, the purpose questions. And then when we see our own state of mind and our way of being surfacing to the point where we're like, who is this person? Because nothing has brought that out in us yet. Or perhaps maybe it's something that was brought out years ago and we thought we dealt with. Children will bring it all up. They're like huge mirrors for ourselves. So it's so interesting to see that this was a catalyst experience for you. And I love how, well, so much of what you said about your desire to really nurture your children's minds and hearts and emotions from the get-go, because we now understand that even in utero, children feel what's going on through mom and through the environment. And so that cognizance of yours is so wonderful. And the other thing you mentioned that I thought was beautiful is that you followed in your father's footsteps in a sense. He had a challenge, so he became an educator to help people overcome that challenge with diabetes. You had a challenge with anxiety, and now here you are. It led you into your work. And this is commonality with so many of the people that I talk to and that come into this connect space. It is just that. And so I think it's so wonderful that, you know, we found our way to each other to this conversation. I'm so curious to know, did you always have a deep connection to your intuition? Or like many women, myself included, did you have it when you were younger and then kind of lose it and then find it again because of trying to fit into a box?
Oh my gosh, that is the best question ever. And I actually just posted yesterday on my stories because it's Are You Okay Day, was yesterday, I think, well, for nationally for us. And what came through in my meditation was that people find it so overbearing when they're trying to adhere to those conditions of being inside this box that they've been taught to be in. So I love that you asked it that way. You asked it that way. So I feel that I've always been intuitive. I don't feel that I lost it. I feel that I ignored it.
That's a good way.
So it was never really not there. Although often people can feel like they've lost it because it's blocked. And so they do put up a wall and it's not there all of a sudden because of something traumatic that's happened or for some other reason. For me, it was always coming through, and I was so consumed in I need to make people happy around me, and I need to be a chameleon, and I need to be the way everyone in my life that I love needs me to be in my perception. So it's not even really perhaps what they needed me to be, but because my intuition was really high, I didn't actually feel like I needed them to tell me how I needed to be. I was that intuitive that I could just energetically feel who I needed to become in that space. So I lost myself in the process because I was being so many different versions of myself in a day or in a week or with every single different person. And that was exhausting.
Oh, yes.
So exhausting in itself. And I think that was also, I believe that was a big part of the anxious energy really coming up to the surface, because it's so, now like coming to the realization in more recent years that you think it's an easier way to live life, to, live inside of those boxes of conditions to be loved and accepted and feel like you belong. Um, it's so much more exhausting to do that than actually to be yourself and heal through those layers of, well, why am I actually doing that? What is the core of that? And often it is because we have low self-worth. We feel like we, need to please other people for them to love us and accept us and feel like we belong. But life is so much more beautiful when you can really just be yourself and attract the people in your life who genuinely love you, for being you.
Yeah, it's so true. I've had the opportunity over the years, and I think many of us will, where I've, doors have opened and closed on relationships, and going through it, sometimes you have these question marks of why is this happening? And then as the door closes, you realize space is opened up for other people to enter in, and you really become more clear on who you truly are. It's like a growth edition of yourself, like another version in a sense, like the next best version kind of thing, an upgrade, if you will. Those things seem to happen. And sometimes it's when relationships end. Other times it's when relationships shift. But I really believe in this concept of seasons, and everybody in our life is here for a reason, and we're in other people's life for a reason, and it's always for a different point of time. Some people are here for a lifetime, some people are here for part of that time, some people come and go through death, some people come and go through moving, through having different connections, whether it's like your kids or you're friends with the parents of your kids when they're at a certain stage or in a sport, and then that ends, and then hey, no hard feelings, everything's great, it's just life just diverges. And so it's so interesting that you say that. It really, this journey is always here to teach us something, I feel. And I'm curious to know, because I'm just so curious all the time. Have you always been someone to follow your curiosity? Like, this is also a theme with the people who come onto the show as well. They just like, and I was interested in this, so I just said, okay, where are we going now? And followed the
No.
curiosity.
No, I definitely haven't. Well, internally, perhaps, but
Internally.
actually allowing myself to follow that curiosity. And I think the opportunity to become a life coach, I didn't even know what a life coach was, but when I realized that was the thing, and I was reading the description of like what kind of person you might be if you were to thrive in this, like, this is for you if, those, all of those bits and pieces. And one of those, or a few of those things, were like, if you're real highly curious, and also highly curious about how people's minds work. I love to hear about people's lives. I love to hear about how they think and the journey that they've taken internally to create all the different things that have happened in their life. So I've always been curious about that. Like, I will always make space to have those deep conversations because I love them, like I love them with all of my being. The curiosity for me, and following that curiosity and going here and going there, going through my own healing journey and becoming a life coach and healing through anxiety and depression and the becoming of who I am, and receiving and owning my spiritual gifts. In that process, yes, I always follow my curiosity now, because I know that it leads me to things that I hadn't even realized I was passionate about. So no before, but yes now.
Well, that's really insightful about yourself, because it is like so much of it is as you're growing in your craft, you're learning about yourself, and then you're transmitting some of those learnings to the people that you're working with as well. And you're just kind of getting a step ahead and a step ahead and a step ahead. And it becomes exciting because no day is the same. There's always something to learn. And these like downloads that we get as we're in this work and as we're hearing people's stories and just, being open to it. Like, I think that openness is something some people can be afraid of opening themselves up because they feel like they may lose a sense of control over their inner world, over their experience. When really, when we are open, our judgment can still be there to guide us, our gut, our intuition. And I really believe our intuition is so strong in guiding us in the right way and away from other things. And sometimes our intuition, I think, guides us into something for just a short time. And then we move on. That, like, if we didn't make that little detour, we wouldn't have learned something to move to the next piece. So it's not like there's ever any mistake. How do you feel about that?
Oh my gosh, I completely agree. And I so appreciate the battle within between this need to control how your journey is going to be and almost sometimes be so like hold on so tight to the thing that, maybe you've received to go in this direction. You've received guidance to go in a certain direction and it feels really good. And because it feels really good and so comfortable, you have a hold on it, even when your intuition's going, okay, it's time to move on from here to the next piece. And you're like, but no, I'm so comfortable here. And then things start happening that are actually you end up becoming more uncomfortable in the place where you thought your comfort was because you're not listening. And so your intuition's like, okay, well, your soul is like, well, how can I get her to move? Because she just wants to stay really stuck. So I appreciate that internal battle. And also the other thing that you said was the when you are open, there is that fear, and that fear can look so many different ways. And I find in my own experience, freedom is one of my highest values. And so if I fear that my freedom is going to be taken away in some way, I'll be like, no, I don't want to open up to receive this because it's going to take away my freedom. And that's where the control comes in. But ultimately, the journey might feel a little bit uncomfortable because it's new and you haven't experienced, it's unknown, it's uncertain. Ultimately, it is going to allow you it will always allow you more freedom. That's what I've found in my own experience.
Oh, wow. I love that. Okay, so I want to dive into, because I have some specific questions for you about like some of the things that you work with people to move through and to expand into. And I want you to explain to me the levels of work that you do, this method that you use, and also, a bit about NLP, neuro linguistic programming, and what got you into that realm. So like maybe walk us through what the stair steps were that you took in your learning journey before you started actually, facilitating this for others.
Yep. Okay. So with the NLP, I'll just start with that. When I was looking for life coaching colleges I knew I didn't want to do like a hard and fast kind of course. I wanted to immerse myself in the learning, and it was important that I enjoy taking time to dive into things. I love learning it all, but I also know that I need space to integrate things too. I need to allow myself that time. So when I was having a look, one of the things that became really apparent to me was very it was a common occurrence, was the hugest, longest lasting change comes from working with the subconscious mind. So find a course that includes NLP. So for me, that might not resonate with everyone, but for me, there was something in me that knew there was truth to that. And so I found a course that had NLP. And I did experience so much deeper transformation because you pick a partner in the course that I was doing. So it was over a year, and you pick a partner or two. I made a few friends, and we practiced with each other within that year. And the healing that was happening at such a deep energetic level, when we were not just using the coaching questions, and they are so powerful. I'm not discounting that at all, because coaching models are amazing. For me, though, healing was required. Really deep healing was required. And I didn't realize that the NLP processes were a form of energy healing until I was experiencing it. There was one particular live session that I attended, where we were clearing the kind of the core heavier emotions like guilt, fear, shame, anger, sadness. There was a few other ones. And there was one particular, I can't specifically remember, it was fear. Okay, so it was fear. That's funny. I'd never been able to remember what one that was until right now. Well, so it's really interesting. Spirit's like fear, fear, fear. So fear, clearing fear at levels of through your unconscious mind. And my grandmother had passed away recently, and she was very spiritual. Both my grandmothers were very spiritual, but this was my second grandmother that had passed away. And she used to read dreams, and like I'd get really excited when I'd have a dream, and I'd call her and say, what does this dream mean? And often she'd be so boring and say to me, what were you thinking about before you went to bed? Or if it was like a not meaningful dream? And I'd be like, I don't want you to tell me that. I want you to tell me something exciting. Anyway, so I was in this process, and my energy, my consciousness elevated so high up that I could feel her as this energetic, angelic presence.
Wow.
And it was the first time that I consciously had experienced connecting with spirit. Come to think of it, that was probably the opening of my mediumship journey, but I had no idea that was there. It was too scary for me at that point. And interesting that we're processing fear at this particular time.
Yeah.
A fear of opening up, because I didn't know what I would be opening up to. I was more concerned with the darker energies, that I had this belief that there was a darker energy. Now I don't believe that, but at the time that was my fear. I didn't want to connect with things that I wouldn't know how to deal with, because I wasn't equipped to deal with them. Mm-hmm. So I remember just tears flowing, tears of joy, of love. Like I had not cried in this way before. I'd not felt this kind of emotion ever before. It was such an overwhelming love and connection to spirit that nothing compared to it. And one of my friends who ended up becoming a mentor over the next few years said to me in the bathroom, because I was just a mess after it, I didn't know what had happened. She said to me, you have this amazing spiritual gift, and you're not even aware of what you are capable of. And that scared me as well. So I was like, oh, I'm not going near her. I remember that was my thought. I'm not going near her again. And she ended up being my spiritual mentor from there on. She downloaded this amazing modality called soul psychology. So I went on to do 2 years in training for that energy modality. And that was then the next catalyst for huge shifts. I healed. I used to have cyst rupture inside of my ovaries, and I would be either hospitalized for days or in bed for days in excruciating pain. And the doctors told me there was nothing they could do about it. So the first time it happened, was operated on, and they removed it. But other than that, they pretty much told me I had to live like that. And I had young kids, and I was like, this can't. And And I also have this rebellion archetype within me that, like, if you tell me that I have to live this way and nothing can be done, I'll show you.
That sounds
So,
very familiar.
yeah. So I went with that. And through using this energy healing modality and learning and having sessions with other people and with my mentor and using the process with myself, I healed that physical condition and it's never happened again. It's been years.
That's
And
incredible.
it used to happen every month, every couple, like it was horrible. So that was the next part of my journey. Then I brought that into, I'd worked in another company as the primary coach. So I asked the company owner whether I could start using this modality. And she said, yeah, sure, no worries. And so the clients were loving it. The healing, the transformation, the shifts were just so incredible. And so, like, if I'd known the term back then, I'd say that they were quantum leaping.
Wow.
And healing in amazing ways. And so that was a huge part of the journey. And then she asked me to work for her as initially I was the global trainer. So I was training other practitioners, and then it became help me with my marketing. So then the role got changed to I can't even remember what it was, but it was something. I was doing everything. I was doing the enrollment calls. I was training practitioners. I was helping with the market, like I was inputting with the marketing and that kind of thing as well, because I had such a huge belief. And the mediumship began to open up inside of the training sessions when I was training practitioners, where I was connecting with spirit and I was seeing spirit and hearing spirit and passing on the message with permission. And sometimes they would tell me their names, and sometimes they would tell me really specific information that I could not possibly know that the sitter was receiving. So that took me on another journey, and now I'm here.
Wow. That is quite a journey. And again, it's like it found you. It's not like you were out there seeking it. If anything, like you say, you had a lot of fear that needed to be unraveled. I think a lot of that fear can come also from the societal programming that has been fed to us about certain things. If you don't understand it, be afraid of it instead of get curious and learn and seek and ask questions and don't go through it alone. Find a mentor. And those things were dropped in your lap as well. Like you weren't looking for this and then you were afraid of it, but then you also weren't looking for a mentor. And then there was the mentor and it led you on this journey. That's incredible.
And it's like that when the student's ready, the teacher appears.
Yes, it's true. It's so true. And I mean, I look at my own life and certain things that have happened, and I see how now that I know a little bit about my human design, and I've had some human design conversations on this podcast as well. And I know that my human design type of manifesting generator, like the whole thing is to respond to things that come my way. And I realized that the really good things in my life have been a response. They haven't been something I've specifically gone after. There have been things that I've set goals for and moved towards, but then doors have opened always that I could never have planned for myself. And that just seems to be the way my life works. And so this mantra I love that is just so true is everything works out for me. Things will always work out for me. They just do. And does that mean that there's no struggle or pain or sadness or grief or sorrow? No, there is. But on the other side of it, and even during it, things work out, little things. The right people come along to kind of walk beside me during a really tough time, or the right person has an answer for me. So I think it's so interesting how that showed up for you, even when you were not looking for it. And now I think about the many people who you've impacted in a positive way in your work. Actually, I would love to hear, what are some stories that stand out to you about clients you've worked with that have stayed with you like, wow, like had you not shown up or been given the invitation to show up for them, they would not have learned something about themselves or healed through something?
Oh, I love that question. The first story that really comes up strong when you ask that question is I had one of my clients she was watching me. I could see that she was watching me in the background, and a friend had referred her to me on Instagram. I'm very active on Instagram. And she asked me, so she could see that I was a medium as well. And it was still quite the early days. So maybe I had discovered and I was exploring those gifts and moving into the development of that ability for maybe 6 to 8 months, I'm guessing. And she asked me whether I could help her open up to her mediumship gifts. She said, I feel like there's something within me. And I just wonder if that's something you could help me with. And that was it felt overwhelming. And I also knew that I always told myself, because of all of the beautiful miracles, I call them miracles, that I'd seen in the transformation just from one session with people, or over 6 months, over 6 sessions, or whatever it was, that I could work with anyone that was called to work with me. So I had this underlying belief. And also there was this fear that, okay, can I really say yes to this with conviction? So I said, let me just sit with that for a bit and I'll come back to you. So I sat with it, I meditated with it, and spirit was just, there was all of these yeses energetically, and I could feel my human self and those fears. They were the only resistance. So if I could feel that spirit, something so much greater than me that I believe comes from this beautiful source of wholeness and love, is telling me that it's going to support me, who am I to say no to that? And I don't need to go in with this confidence and conviction that I can sort this out for you. That's not the approach that I'm going to come to the table with. And so I said to her really clearly, I feel that spirit's telling me I can support you with this, and I will put in 150% with you in this journey and teach you everything that I know, and also work with you to clear any of your fear that you have around spirit. Because I know that when it comes to wanting to feel a certain way or do a certain thing or be a certain person, a new version of yourself, or manifest something, ideally it's about becoming an energetic match to the frequency of that thing. And so to do that, you need to clear away all of the fear, all of the anxiety, and that's what the foundation of the healing work that I do. All right, so what's actually stopping you from believing that you can become this? What's stopping you from doing this thing? What's the resistance? Where does that resistance come from at its core? Is it from this lifetime? Is it from past lifetimes? And that was even something that before was really fearful. And I don't even understand. I've realized I don't need to understand everything. I just need to be really present in the experience and allow that person's unconscious mind to take them wherever it needs to take them, and know that it's never going to take them to a place that they can't handle. And I've had the experience to be able to hold so much pain and so much fear that I know that I can hold that. Like I'm not afraid of that, of witnessing someone going through that, because I have a deep knowing that their unconscious mind will take them to somewhere that they're always able to handle, even if they feel in that moment that they can't. I'm able to hold the energy so that they feel safe enough to explore that and heal at that core level. Whether for them it feels like a past life, who am I to say that past lives don't exist? Who am we don't get to have that judgment when we're in this space. We just get to hold whatever happens for that person and allow them to heal at that level. So I came across, I'm here for you 150%. I'll put everything in. And so we worked together for 3 months in an intensive. I shared with her all of the resources that that I have been using and that I was going through as well. And we went through it together. We healed fears of like experiences where she looked up as a child and saw her grandmother staring back at her in a mirror, her grandmother that had passed away. You know, things that as a child you don't quite understand. And because of the movies and all of the things, religion, you know, that's the devil's work, or that's you can't believe in that, we're not able, only Jesus can see, you know, like those kind of things. I'm not being very specific, but you know, these are the fears that I had, and these are the fears that I've heard from clients, and how they depict ghosts and spirits in movies is not always what those experiences are like. I have had and I can literally say all of my experiences have been in complete divine love. Oh, wow. Even if a spirit has come through in an energy of fear, it has been to get my attention. And once they have my attention, then I can facilitate the healing with them so that they can move on into the light. Like, I've had those experiences, so I can say the movies, they have to like accentuate all of the different things. They don't have to, but it's a thing, right? Like, some people find that entertaining. When you're a person that connects with spirits, that's not entertaining. Yeah. that's really quite fearful. Especially when, you know, there's beautiful souls that are wanting to communicate with you and bring you experiences of love, but you are stuck in all of the fear that what you've seen in movies. So we did lots of healing, and the other thing with that is, it's not like I go, okay, so where do your fears come from? And let's go there. I'm really present with what's coming up in the now moment. It's again, following the energy that feels alive. Yeah. So what is it you want, and what's coming up right now? And then using the tools and the processes and the modalities to then take them on a journey to wherever they need to float to do that healing. Within 3 months, she was able to she is still able to connect to people that pass away almost instantly. Wow. Do a reading for people confidently with accurate information. That blew my mind away, because I never knew that I was able to support someone at that level. I had taken people through my 6-week Awaken Your Intuition course, and one lady downloaded like a healing process from spirit that she now uses with her clients. So that, for me, that blew me away, that was even a possibility through clearing the fear that you have to spirit and to receiving.
That is what really stands out to me. You are an energy and space holder for people to be able to actually feel safe enough to access what's already going on inside of them, just like someone did for you. And that is the work, you know, in all these different forms of coaching, whatever kind, it is to be that safe space where someone can really open up to what is truly there for them, the true desires that they have, to mirror to them that it's okay that they even have those desires. Because I think so much of our life is of trying to fit in so that we don't stand out, so that we aren't ostracized, so that we have a community, so that people will love us, so that we feel safe. And when we're getting messages from the time we're very young, from, you know, people in positions of authority and religious figures who in many cases really have the best interests of the people they're teaching, they're coming from a place of their own understanding. But often, especially generations ago, but there's still some there now, even in the school system, fear is a great control mechanism. It's a great way to control people. And, you know, we see it in other institutions around the world as well. And yes. So to realize that, you know, when we let go of that, what is real truth and what is really inside of us? And I believe, like yourself, I believe like the divine source that created us is a place of love. And we are just filled with love. And it's hard for us to access it because we've been conditioned in such a way to be fearful and to have our guard up. So I think your position in your work is really just that, is to make people feel safe enough to be able to finally be free. It's kind of like, you know, you hear people talking a lot now about if you see it, you can be it. And it's so true with so many things. And I have so much excited anticipation for the younger generations, especially multicultural generations and people who have been really kept down by the systems and structures of patriarchy, that now they're seeing people rise up, and these young people are seeing people who look like them doing incredible things that otherwise they wouldn't have been able to do. So they're seeing it. So they feel safe to be able to do it. So there's people who have led the way. And it's similar what you're doing as well.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful work.
I just love so much what you shared there. I goosebumps everywhere. That's beautiful. So do you want another client story, or
Sure.
are you happy?
Sure. Give us the juice.
Oh no, I'm just wondering, like, if that kind of fulfilled your curiosity, and like, I'm so happy to move on if you have other questions.
That it really did. It really did. I am looking at time a little bit too.
Yeah.
But I will say something that was really interesting that stood out to me about when I was looking at your website and things, just to kind of, as I was thinking about what would I like to share and have you share about in this podcast, is some of the things that you help people with on this different level, like really foundational level, are things that a lot of us struggle with, especially women, that in my experience, I've seen and experienced too, is like the clearing away of resistance that keeps you stuck in self-sabotaging behaviors, learning to connect your body's wisdom, supercharging your self-confidence, and awakening the voice of your intuition. Like all of these things, they seem to be like a universal area that people are wanting to heal from. It's like, I feel like particularly women, and I'm sure there's people of all different genders who they feel like they just want the shackles to be removed.
Yeah.
And so what is your advice to someone who is just finally awakening to the fact that they can actually change? They can actually break free of some of these cycles. Like, how would you recommend someone first tap into their intuition as a starting point?
Meditation. Definitely meditation. I find if I can't live without meditation, and meditation has been the solid practice that taught me how to separate myself from my thoughts. Because often when we're connecting to fearful thoughts, anxious thoughts, angry thoughts, worried thoughts, doubtful thoughts, there's generally an identity attached to that thought process. And we often identify as being that anxious person, that angry person, that doubtful person, that scared person, that worried person, right? And so when you're identifying as that, you're saying, you're affirming, I am that emotion. I am those thoughts. I am, that is my identity. I am that. And I love Wayne Dyer's work. I am the words of God. They are the words of the divine. And God used to trigger me. So if that triggers you, please just change that to whatever higher power it is that you believe in, whether it's universe, source, energy, divine, mother, father, whatever that is. I am a divine words. Whatever follows I am should be beautiful, should be of love. I am a divine being. When you get to, through meditation, through affirmations, through, you know what I would recommend? Learn modalities that help tap into your subconscious mind if you don't want to work with a healer to facilitate that and you want to learn it yourself, find modalities that resonate with you. There's tapping. There's so many different things. There's NLP. There's lots of energy healing modalities. There's books that you can read now to learn how to, I think there's the emotion code. I haven't read that, but I know a lot of people, like I see that a lot. So find ways that really like your heart guides you to, your heart leads you to, because as much as you might think that you need to awaken your intuition, or you're intuitive, but the fear's covering it up, there is a knowing within you that will guide you to that thing that's going to allow you to free yourself from those chains and those shackles. And when you can connect and accept your own divine nature, I know for me, that allowed me to release it. And don't get me wrong, I'm not released from all limitations, because if I said that, that is absolute rubbish, because I'm always growing. And like we get to be on this journey of an upward spiral of healing, where we always hit new levels of awakening to the next level of consciousness, or the next up level, or whatever you want to call that upgrade. But when you hear yourself saying those things, I am those heavy things, you are not that. You can step back from that and step away from that and remind yourself that you are whole. You are a whole, you are a spark of divine wisdom, of divine nature, of divine love, and you are loved so unconditionally. And when you connect to that place and that truth, there is nothing in the outside world that could be ever more fulfilling, to feel, to be connected to own, to realize that you are part of that. That is you. You are divine. That could ever take away from there is nothing greater than feeling that connection, that wholeness to your divine nature. And there is nothing in the outside world that could ever succumb to that feel, or it could ever be equal to that feeling. And you will always find yourself inside of that silence and that meditation and that connection. So meditation would be the thing that I would encourage you to explore.
Meditation is something that I have become more practiced at over the last 5 years or so. Prayer has always been a really big thing for me. Like my Jesus faith has been the thing that's been kind of morphing over the years as I've been unpacking, relearning, unlearning so much on my journey. I really connect to God, divine source, and that belief that, yeah, we are really beings of love, and that we are all interconnected, and that we are co-creating. So meditation has been adopted into my prayer practice. So it's a prayer meditation kind of symbiotic thing that happens. And so follow-up question to that would be, for people feeling this enlightenment and this whole new way of looking at the world, a whole new way of looking at themselves, they're feeling like they're becoming untethered from the things that would hold them back. How do they integrate that amongst the people around them who are not aware, not conscious of that?
Okay, so I guess it just depends on what kind of journey you're in as to like how I would answer that from my experience. So the way that because of my own, as a result of my own journey, the way I integrate that is that I show up online and I share my transformation, the learnings, the insights that I get, and then offer support in people's transformation. So I allow that to flow into my life, and that's organically how it's felt for me, and how I've chosen to live my life and build my business and live in that way. Now, going into the real world, so if you have children and that, like, your path is not, you don't want your path to be that way, you haven't chosen that for your path, and you just want to continue to live your life however that looks for you, it would be to continue to do the inner work, and inside of those meditative spaces that you create for yourself, to ask those questions. How can I integrate this in my life and receive guidance from there? because every day it's going to be a new thing, and it doesn't need to be a huge, massive, like, okay, so you're here and you're going to climb 1,000 mountains and like that's the guidance. No, it's like really simple. Is it like what feels resistant in my life right now? Is it something in my workplace? Is it something, is it something that's happening in the relationship with my children or my partner or my friend or my mother or my father? Or you know what you know what I'm trying to say? Like it's in the simple things that it begins.
Mm-hmm.
So how can I open my heart more so that I'm not so angry with my child when they're triggering me, right? So it's asking those questions inside of that space of presence, which then allows you to, I couldn't tell you more specifically than that, because your spirit will guide you, your soul will guide you in that space of presence. You'll be guided in each moment. So it's continuously showing up every day and choosing to be devoted to yourself and your journey and creating and you know, dedicating that space to choose you as a priority, and that connection to spirit and your connection to your own growth that then allows you to receive guidance from that space, coming back to not needing a plan and like go and follow this route, but actually let's come back within and tap into what do I need right now? What feels alive right now? What's the next step for me right now? And keep it simple, because the simpler you keep it, the easier the choice becomes for you to make that decision and take that step.
Oh, yes. And I hope everyone heard you say it's about devoting to your journey and asking for the guidance of how you show up. So often people will learn something new and want to just like ram it down someone else's throat and say, okay, so this person needs to change and you need to do this and you need to do that. It's like, whoa, 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 whoa. No, no, no. You're on your journey. They're on theirs. Live into what spirit is guiding you to do. And beautiful things happen around you as people witness and experience you living as the person you're meant to be. Is when you're grounded into that, you show up so powerfully and you're like a magnet for the goodness, right? So I
Yes.
love that you said that. That is so powerful. Oh my goodness, this has been such an incredible conversation. I knew it would be.
I'm in
And
love
I'm
with
so
this
looking forward
conversation.
to it. And I would love for you to share where people can find you and what you're excited about, like what's coming up for you this coming season in your work or in your life.
Sure. So, how you can connect with me, Instagram. Find me on Instagram, DM me. I love having voice conversations with people. And if you are not comfortable with that, you can also send me like a written message and I will respond. I'm always active on my stories. So I'm always adding value and sharing insights and love and daily mantras on my Instagram. So I'm most active there and I feel most connected to people there. So please find me there. What's coming up is at the moment I'm focused on really connecting with people one-on-one. So I never have well, that's not true. I never kind of make my first sessions, oh, you have to come and book it now, or like there's always a special price for my first session. If you feel drawn to just having an experience of what it would look like to work with me, I offer personal alignment sessions, and that's the first session to just really have a completely immersed experience with me of a session, and that's 147 AUD. What's coming up is I'm putting together a beautiful spiritual soulful academy that is coming together through spirit. I'm receiving these pockets of information about what that's going to look like, which aligns with the offer that I would love to give as a freebie, which is my masterclass, and it's called Awaken and Amplify Your Connection to Your Intuition. And it's very clear steps and practices that you can use right now to just start to, whether you feel that it's awakened and you want to hone your intuitive abilities, your spiritual abilities, what I share in that masterclass, I still use today. So I'm sharing with you something that is such a value to like, it's of so much value to my soul and my work. and I'd never hold back in my master classes. So, yeah, that they're the 3 ways.
Beautiful. And to me, that sounds like the most decadent and nourishing form of self-care is when you're really nourishing your soul in that way, spending that time. So thank you for offering that freebie. I'll make sure that I link those things. Thank you so much for being here and having this conversation with me, Christine.
Oh, thank you for having me. This has been so much fun. I'm in love with our conversation.
And to our listeners, we would love to know what came up for you as you listened today. I imagine a lot of things came up, and we would love to know. And like Christine, I love doing voice notes in my DMs too. So send us DMs. We would love to have a conversation with you, and share this episode, tag it, whatever you feel free to do, so that people can hear more about this. And you can connect with us at all the links in the show notes. So grateful you're here. Thank you for listening. Big blessings. Thank you so much for being here with me on the Connect podcast. If you like this episode, please share it with someone you think would enjoy it. Also, if you head over to iTunes to leave a review, I'd be so grateful. Let us know what your favorite parts were and what you'd like to hear more of. It will help us have a greater impact, elevating many more people to grow and succeed together. See you next time.